I live with my parents. My mother leaves for work every day at 6 a.m. and comes back at 3 p.m. Today, she comes back at 10 a.m. I talked to her and asked why she came back so early. She told me that she managed to get off early and that she wanted to make a late breakfast soon. I said, "Okay, call me when you're done." After about 2 hours of waiting, I realized that I couldn't hear any sounds from the kitchen, and I always do when someone is cooking something. So I went to the kitchen and my mother was gone. I went through the whole house. My mom was nowhere to be found. I was alone at home. I thought it was strange because my mother always tells me when she goes out. For example, if she goes to the store or to even water the flowers in the garden, she always lets me know. So I went back to my room and went back to playing my game. At 3 p.m., my mother comes back. She called me, which she always does, said hello, and I asked her, "Why did you leave the house and not tell me? And where were you anyway?" She replies, "Well, honey, I was at work and I always come back at 3 p.m., don't I?" I explained to her that she was home at 10 today and that I talked to her and that she even told me she would be making a late breakfast. She explained to me that she wasn't. We talked about it for a while, and then my mother decided that I had simply mixed up the days. But I don't think that's possible. She was at home. I saw her and I spoke to her. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened to me either. I'm sharing this story because it happened to me today.
I've had many unexplainable experiences in my life, some of which I still can't wrap my head around to this day. My initial thought isn't that it's paranormal because I'm not sure if I believe in that sort of thing. I'm open-minded, but I'm not quick to believe in such matters. Most of what happens, I chalk up to my mind playing tricks on me or lack of sleep, or perhaps just the fact that it could be an undiagnosed mental illness. There's one moment though, or I guess several moments that have been bothering my mind for some time now. One of them happened when I was taking a shower, and as the water flowed over my head, I heard my brother calling my name. The second one was louder than the first, as if something was wrong. I'm almost certain I also heard my dog barking, though annoyed but worried. I stepped out and cracked the door open, then called for them, but after waiting for a few seconds, there was no response. I quickly dried myself off and put on a robe, then went downstairs to ask what they needed again, but I still got no response. My dog was sound asleep in his bed, and my brother was nowhere to be found. I looked out the window, and their car wasn't even there. It's not the first time my mind decided to play this disturbing game, so I didn't dwell on it too much. Honestly, I've experienced auditory hallucinations before, though not as severe, but maybe it's getting worse, and I need more sleep. That's how I try to rationalize it with myself, and it worked. The next time I heard my brother calling my name, and they weren't there, but then it happened a third, and then a fourth time. My brother calling me loudly and clearly, that's when I started to worry. I thought I was truly going insane. I decided to talk to my brother about it while we were playing Borderlands one night. We often talk about our mental health because our parents don't believe in therapy, so we kind of became each other's safe space. I explained everything that had been happening over the past month, and instead of giving advice or sympathy like he usually does, he just became very quiet for a moment until he said that he's been experiencing the same thing, except it was our mom calling his name, but she was never home when he went to check. He said it happened about 5 or 6 times, maybe a month or 2 ago, but he also thinks his mind was playing tricks. It seems like after that conversation, everything started to stop. I didn't hear anything for almost 3 weeks, but then something happened that I'll never forget and might never have an explanation for. I was sitting on my bed in my room scrolling through Instagram when my mom started aggressively calling my name from downstairs. I've never heard her voice before. It's always been my brother's voice, so I didn't even think anything of it. I was about to get up and see what she wanted when suddenly my mom burst through the door and asked what I wanted. I didn't know what to say, but I could see that she was angry from the look she gave me. She asked again what I wanted, and I just shook my head trying to understand what was happening. Then she sighed angrily and said, "Don't scream calling her name when she's cooking dinner," and stormed out, leaving the door open, still in shock. I stood up to close the door, but as I walked across the room, my heart stopped when I realized it. I quickly ran to the window and looked into the garage where my mom's car was. She was at her workplace. I slammed the door shut and sat back on my bed crying while calling my brother. I was truly scared and wanted to leave the house, but couldn't even bring myself to go downstairs alone. My brother didn't pick up because he was at work, so I was stuck there. I eventually locked myself in my tiny bathroom while waiting for my brother or mom to come home from work, even though I knew it would take a few hours. Luckily, nothing else happened until my mom came back, and this time I was very hesitant when she called me, but eventually everything was okay. I told my brother about it that night, and he said he's never experienced anything like that until today. I still don't have answers to what I heard and saw. But honestly, I'm writing this and sharing it in hopes of being able to forget it and move on with my life. I don't want to know anymore because I don't think I can handle the truth if it's truly something paranormal.